Morning. The time is now 9:38 a.m. and a quorum of the board is present. The State Board of Education meeting of May 13th, 2025 is called to order. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda in order of priority. Are there any items that board members would like to add or delete from the agenda? Dr. Robinson.
I have a resolution on smaller class sizes.
Okay, we have a motion on smaller class sizes. Do we have a second? Second by Dr. Pugh. Dr. Robinson, back to you to either describe the motion or to read it into the record.
I'll describe it if that's okay. There's been a fair amount of interest lately in the legislature and among academic circles for smaller class sizes for a variety of reasons. So I've put together a resolution that I'm looking forward to discussing later.
Very good. We have a motion. We have a second. It's been described. Is there any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, if we could have a roll call vote on the placement of this motion on the agenda.
Lipton?
Yes.
McMillan?
Pass.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Pugh? Yes. Robinson?
Yes.
Snyder?
Yes.
And Tilly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. Do we have any other items to add or delete from the agenda? Ms. Tilly.
Yes, I have a resolution that I would like to introduce. It's the resolution requesting the establishment of policies that register and protect children on the autism spectrum.
So we have a motion from Ms. Tilly, second from Dr. Pritchett. Ms. Tilly, to you to describe or to read into the record.
Yes, I have a mom, and she's running a little late, but Stephanie Jones, her son has autism. And so we had a discussion about some of the things that she was going through as a mom, and she spoke also about her neighbor who's going through the same thing. They're experiencing both of their children eloping, which means they are not necessarily running away, but running off. And we also spoke about the fact that Victor Perez was recently murdered in Idaho by a police officer, a 17-year-old man who is autistic and nonverbal. So we discussed the fact that it would be awesome to have, as the police is working with the community, an option for parents, not something that's mandatory, but an option for parents to register their child, especially if they're dealing with, the parent or caregiver is dealing with someone who is eloping. They would be able to notify the police so that when the police encounter them, they understand that they are dealing with an autistic individual and they can tailor that interaction to the needs of that person.
Okay.
So that is the background.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Tilly. Any other discussion of Ms. Tilly's motion, seconded by Dr. Pritchett, described by Ms. Tilly? Hearing and seeing none, if we could have a roll call vote for inclusion on the agenda.
Lipton?
Yes.
McMillan?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Pugh?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Snyder?
Yes.
And Tilly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And may I please have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Motion by Ms. Lipton, second by Dr. Pritchett. Any discussion associated therewith? Hearing and seeing none, if we could have a roll call vote on the agenda as amended.
Lipton?
Yes.
McMillan?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Pugh?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Snyder?
Yes.
And Tilly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
At this time, Ms. Liz Evans, State Board Executive, will introduce members of the State Board of Education.
Good morning. You have just been listening to Dr. Michael Rice, Chairperson of the State Board and State Superintendent. To his left around the table is Board President Dr. Pamela Pugh from Saginaw, Board Co-Vice President Ms. Ellen Cogan-Lipton from Huntington Woods, NASB Delegate Dr. Mitchell Robinson from Okemos, Ms. Nikki Snyder, and Ms. Kelly Kuzmano, the 24-25 Michigan Teacher of the Year. And now seated to my right at the table is Mr. Tom McMillan from Oakland Township, Board Co-Vice President Ms. Tiffany Tilley from West Bloomfield, and Board Secretary Dr. Judith Pritchett from Washington Township. Joining us in person today is Ms. Emma Young, the Governor's K-12 Policy Advisor ex officio, and she is seated directly behind Dr. Pugh, the Board President.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. The public may register to provide comment during the public participation portion of the meeting at approximately 1 p.m. Those wishing to make public comment must register before 1 p.m. To provide public comment by telephone, please complete the registration form on the MDE webpage at www.michigan.gov/MDE. To provide public comment in person, please complete a green public comment form when you arrive here at the meeting location. These instructions, again, are listed on the MDE webpage at www.michigan.gov/MDE. Community and Board. The first item on today's agenda at 9:43 a.m. is a presentation on transition services supporting employment outcomes. During today's presentation, you will hear about transition services provided to students with disabilities to promote and facilitate the accomplishment of long-term education and career goals. The presentation will include career and technical education examples and an overview of the Project Search program. We welcome our presenters, Dr. Michelle Harmala, Deputy Superintendent in the Division of Educator Excellence, Career and Technical Education, Special Education, and Administrative Law. Ms. Nancy Rotarius, Special Education Consultant in the Office of Special Education. Ms. Selena Mills, Director of the Office of Career and Technical Education. Ms. Sarah Winslow, Statewide Program Director, Project Search, Michigan Association of Administrators of Special Education. Colton, a student at Van Buren Technical Center. Henry, a student in NAF Academy of Health Sciences. Zi Yun, a student at the Spartan Project Search, Michigan State University, Hazlitt Public Schools. Nick, a student at Ingham ISD in Project Search, Hazlitt Public Schools. And also present in the room are Eddie Luckett from Ingham ISD, Project Search, and Jacob, a student from Ingham ISD and Project Search. This is an informational meeting. Our presentation, no board action is required. Presenters, welcome.
Thank you very much. We have our team around the table, and I'm the extra in the second row. So I'll get us started. Our list of students, as Dr. Rice has already shared, as well as our other presenters. So go ahead to the next slide, Selena. We'd like to share with you today an overview of transition services. In essence, think about transition services as how we help students move from the world of school to the world of life outside of school, work, additional schooling, life in general. And we're going to give you a definition of that, as well as share some of our metrics data for students with special needs. We're going to present transition services as they play out in career and technical education, as well as in special education. Our goals that transition services addresses are three of our goals: expanding secondary learning opportunities for all students, increasing the percentage of all students who graduate from high school, and increasing the percentage of adults with post-secondary credentials. I'm going to hand it off to Nancy Rotarius, who's going to talk about the definitions of transition services and some of our metrics.
Transition services are defined by both the Rehabilitation Act and the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. In simple terms, transition services are services, programs, and supports provided by schools and other agencies that create an individualized process whereby students transition out of high school and fully participate in adult life. The United States Department of Education has developed 18 indicators to help each state measure and report efforts to educate students with disabilities. Each state reports on its performance on each indicator and its plan to make progress in the state performance plan in the annual performance report. There are two metrics on the annual performance report that focus on transition services. Indicator 13, secondary transition, is a compliance indicator. And indicator 14 is post-school outcomes, which is a results indicator. Indicator 13, secondary transition, reports the percent of students ages 16 or older with an IEP that includes appropriate measurable post-secondary goals. The United States Department of Education, Office of Special Education, has set a target of 100% compliance. To determine compliance, districts review IEPs with a checklist that includes the following items spread across the 9 items in a monitoring checklist. Appropriate post-secondary goals, which are annually updated and based on age-appropriate transition assessments. Transition services, including the course of study, which is reasonably calculated to enable the student to meet their post-secondary goals. Annual IEP goals related to the student's transition needs, and there needs to be evidence that the student was invited to the IEP team meeting where transition services are to be discussed. And when appropriate, there is evidence that a representative of a participating agency was invited to the IEP with prior consent of the parent of the student or the student who has reached the age of majority. Michigan's performance on indicators shows a consistent trend since 2018 and 19. The Michigan Department of Education Office of Special Education has provided technical assistance to improve work on this indicator, including encouraging districts to use personal curriculums and start transition plans as earlier than age 16. Indicator 14 measures the post-school outcomes of youth who have IEPs after they've left high school. Specifically, it tracks the percent of those youth engaged in post-secondary education, including higher education or other training programs, competitive employment, or both within 1 year of high school. The Office of Special Ed Programs from the U.S. Department of Ed requires states to set a target for these indicators. Michigan uses stakeholders, including the intermediate school districts, as well as the Special Ed Advisory Committee, to obtain input on these targets. The data is collected through a survey of students who have exited special ed. The data on this slide shows overall performance of post-school outcomes, including the percent of students enrolled in higher education or some post-secondary education or training program, or those who are competitively employed. This data is further disaggregated in the state performance plan. In the most recent reporting, nearly 75% of participants are reporting that they are enrolled in higher ed, competitively employed, or in a post-secondary education or training program within 1 year of leaving high school.
So much like special education, we look at some of those same things. We want the same outcomes for students when they leave high school. So in CTE, we're all about transition. And we look at the EDP, or the Educational Development Plan, to determine what it is that a student wants to do and where they want to end up. So to do that and to help with that transition, we look at several different things. We look at how they're participating in career exploration. Are they having an opportunity to think about what it is that they want to do as an occupation later, and how do they get to that goal? We focus on work-based learning and having experiences with employers so that they can try that out and see if it's really what they want to do and if they like it. And then we also help students to connect the academics that they're learning in high school and see how they're going to use those same skills in either their post-secondary education or in employment or both. And we've shown you this description of a program of study before, but just to bring this back around, one of the ways in CTE that we look at that transition for students is to take the EDP that they develop in middle school and then to start thinking about how that looks to transition from that middle school goal into a high school and then post-secondary program of study. So what courses do they need to take? What experiences do they need to have to be able to be ready for the next step in life? And with me, I have two students who presented with us at the Career Education Conference and talked about what their goals are and what their experiences in CTE have been. So I'd like to introduce you to those two. And first, I'd like to introduce you to Colton. And Colton discovered what it is that he likes to do through an interaction at Van Buren Tech Center. So Colton, I'm going to turn that over to you.
Thank you, Selena. And thank you for inviting me to meet with you today and share my story. I'm Colton, and I would probably be extremely nervous to speak to you, but I'm blind, so I can't see you. So, I have a very narrow field of vision and no depth perception. Only one of my eyes see, and I have to get very close to pick up any details. Sometimes my eye shakes so badly that I can't see anything but light and color. 2 years ago, completed an internship with the VBISD Technology Center, which services, which is based at VB Tech. So, this was set up with the help of the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons. And I even did a mock interview with my boss. My O&M instructor, orientation and mobility instructor, also helped me get a general layout and help me orient to the building so I would know where to go. At the Van Buren Technical Center, I gained skills that increase my chances of getting a job in a business environment. At work, my boss and I figured out that the only accommodations I really needed was to increase and images, the size of text and images, since that most of my work as a as a IT IT professional were done on a computer. When I was at work, my boss thought I had some potential, so he recommended that I go check out the software engineering classes at Van Buren Tech. And when we looked into it, we saw that, contrary to what we originally believed, the tech classes were indeed available to homeschoolers. So I can continue the homeschooling that works best for me, but I can also get the software engineering classes I so want and need. In school, I have a couple of accommodations. I sit near the front so I can see the whiteboard. Well, most of the time you aren't allowed to have your phone in class. Mr. Hinckley allows me to have my phone as well as my binocular so I can look through the camera to see the whiteboard, and he records the lectures so I can go back to them later. In school, I also have several competitions with an organization called the Business Professionals of America, and I really enjoy doing that as well. In fact, I got second place in regionals. At Van Buren Tech, skills matter, not disabilities. I have always wanted to be a software engineer, but I didn't really know where to start. However, with Van Buren Tech, I get all the software engineering classes I need, as well as how to apply those skills in a business environment. So I'm getting taught business language and how to write a resume and interviews and other associated topics. I am really grateful that tech has allowed me to put me in a situation where I can have the homeschooling that meets my individual needs, but I can also have a class that does the same deal and gives me the software engineering knowledge that I want. And this will help me support myself financially someday. As the Declaration of Independence say, we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and this has helped me in my life, my liberty, and my pursuit of happiness.
Well done. Thank you. The next student that I want to introduce you to is Henry.
Oh, it's still the same picture.
Sorry. Henry is going to tell you about his future goals, and they were really shaped by some experiences in his past.
I'm still disappointed because I sent a whole picture from my last speech and it's still that forsaken thing. It looks like a mugshot. I don't want to be there apparently. All right, this is going to be long and probably boring at some parts, so please bear with me. Hello, my name is Henry Aaron Kabizna. I'm a 17-year-old senior at Lighthouse Academy, and today I'm going to talk about a little bit myself, my experiences in the NAF and JMG program. First, let's start with how I ended up at Lighthouse, which is alternative ed, and had the opportunity to be part of the NAF and JMG program. A little over 2 years ago, I moved into my dad's house in Kentwood from my hometown of Allegan. It's much more nerve-wracking than I thought it would be. After some family troubles I had, I started going to East Kentwood High School. That same year, I was at EK for a little over a year and didn't do very well. I had some problems with such a big student body. I was kind of overlooked, which is weird because you can see me in almost any hallway. I passed my first year by the skin of my teeth. I think I got a D minus in my math final, so literally skin of my teeth. My second year at EK, I was going through some personal things, and my grades and social life were kind of horrible. I was failing some classes and had some problems with my teachers and peers. Near the end of my time at EK, I started doing better. I made new friends. I even joined the esports team. Look at this nerd go. My life was looking up, but as most teenagers do, most of us, let's be real, I did something really stupid, which is rare for me because most things I do are really stupid. Me and my friends were messing around and I hurt somebody. It wasn't an accident, but it wasn't out of anger or malice. I didn't mean to hurt them, but I did, and I take full responsibility for it. 100% my fault. After this incident, I was kicked out of East Kenwood High School. They suspended me for 10 days, I've been through this before, and I was expelled soon after. It was a really low point for me. I didn't go to any school for about 2 months. Then I got lucky, really lucky, because I swear, second I'm 18 and buying a lottery ticket. And my dad found Lighthouse Academy. When I got to Lighthouse, I wasn't a very confident person, and it took a while for me to adjust. I was far from ever doing anything close to giving a speech, let alone more than one. But for some reason, my teachers actually believed in me, and not in that I'm paid, so I have to believe in you, but a genuine belief. And because of that, I'm graduating a year earlier than I should. A lot better than a kid who was failing half his classes a year ago. This year, I also like to be in a career readiness program called Jobs for Michigan Graduates, or NAF. In this class, we're learning about career paths and other career-oriented activities. Most importantly, went on trips and met people in different industries. This was made possible by NAF. The awkward part of flipping pages. But first, I'm going to talk about a trip that ended with me at a gas station. I'm going to make this quick. Oh, well, my definition of quick anyway. So it was the first trip of this class, and only 3 people could go. And as luck would have it, I was one of them. But then one person bailed, and another got sick. So my trip was starting off strong. Just me, my teacher, Mr. Stimmick, and most importantly, the van. I lost my spot, of course it did. Trust me, it's important for the story later. Mr. Stimmick had to pick up some kids from a different school for the trip, so we did that. We were on our way to a summer camp that I've completely forgotten the name of because I'm completely terrible with names. At this camp, I did a lot of leadership activity, made some friends, had a lot of fun, got hand cramps after climbing a rock wall twice because Mr. Stimmick forgot to record it, and I'm vain. On the way back, we dropped the other kids off, and the teacher from the other school got in his car because me and Mr. Stimmick had to return the rental van, and he was going to drive me and Mr. Stimmick back to Lighthouse. I don't know why I have to explain all this, but I feel like I had to. But first, we need to fill up the rental van with gas, and I was taking a nap in the back seat. Completely crashed. I was tired. We stopped at the gas station. Mr. Stimmick got out, and then I got out. And we hunted for the gas cap, which embarrassingly took us over 10 minutes to find. I don't know where they hide those things or why I'm such an idiot, but it's fine. When I went to the gas station to use the restroom, when I got back, he was driving away. Some might say fleeing from the scene. To be fair, I didn't tell him I was going to the bathroom the last time. He saw me. I was knocked out in the back seat. So luckily, the other teacher was there and picked me up. The phone call when he realized was really funny, though, to be honest. But to be honest, that was one of the best days I've ever had. It was the best trip by far, was the Savior and Sword trip. On this trip, I don't know why I'm not taking breaks. I'm out of breath. On this trip, we learned about the hospitality industry, which, while we took tours of the Van Andel Arena and the Amway Grand in Grand Rapids. I'm glued to this paper. Sorry about that. I would look at you more, but then I'd freak out. Van Andel, we're going to give a tour of their facilities. We first got shown the public facilities and such. Ooh, water. I'm taking it. First, we got shown the public facilities and such, and we got shown to the private viewing suites. And I have never felt more poor in my life. Soon after, I got to see the underground tunnels, which led to everything, and most importantly, I touched a Zamboni. Heck yeah, guys. They are much bigger in person, I'll tell you that. And that's saying something, because I'm not particularly small. After that, I got to stand on the ice. Well, there were panels on top of it because there was a concert, but technically, I still stood on hockey rink ice, which made me very happy. A feeling I would never have experienced if not for this trip or NAF. Final thing that I did was see the locker rooms at the arena. After all this, I was actually getting interested in hockey, which, is, interesting because sports are boring and archaic. We then used the Skywalk to travel to the Amway Grand. At the Amway, we got an amazing tour and a lot of food. I really like food. Some of the best I've ever had, but I won't talk about that too much. During this tour, we saw everything the hotel had to offer. First, we took a tour of the basic facilities, and then we went deeper and behind the scenes where we saw the bakery. And I'll tell you something, smells unbelievable. I really like bread. I don't know why I had to say that, but it's out there. There also is, got to see the maintenance zone, some other cool stuff down there. And then we got to take a look inside the light and sound booth of the banquet hall, which is really dusty. They have this little path on the top of it. It's like soft in there. It shouldn't be soft. Final thing I was talking is most expensive room in the Amway Grand. Near the end of the tour, we went to the top floor to look inside one of the suites, and the room made me feel poor and extremely scared of heights. During this, I learned that something rather interesting. A lot of people in the hospitality industry have a degree in psychology. It's nice to know if me wanting to be a doctor or a psychiatrist doesn't work out. I have other fields my future degree is useful in. I will stop boring you and I'll finally wrap this up. I just want to take a moment to say thank you to NAF, JMG, Lighthouse for giving myself and others these amazing opportunities. I can say without a doubt, Lighthouse and their opportunities have made all the difference. Thank you to the board for allowing me to speak and everyone here for listening to me ramble. But before I go, one more thing. The other day, my dad told me something that stuck with me. You can either let things that happen to you define you or change you. And I'm happy to say that I changed instead of becoming what people thought I was. Have a lovely rest of your day, everyone, and thank you.
So what you'll see with both of our CTE student examples is that it was an opportunity that presented itself. It was something that came up in their life. It was someone who saw an opportunity for them or a desire that they had and then connected them with resources, connected them with work-based learning that helped to make that happen. And so now both Colton and Henry know what they want to do in the future and are working toward that transition path because of the experiences that they've had. And from here, I'll turn it over to the folks from Project Search.
Good morning, board. Thank you, Colton. Thank you, Henry. That was wonderful. Appreciate you sharing that. I would like to share with you about Project Search. It is another transition opportunity for young adults with disabilities in Michigan. And we believe in the goal for Project Search is employment, period. Competitive, integrated employment, earning a competitive wage in an integrated setting. And our goal is for them to work 16 or more hours a week. And I'll share with you some data in just a second around that. Go ahead, Selena, thank you. So the beauty of the Project Search model, and which makes it different from many other programs, it is 100% immersive in a host business. So no longer are students in a high school setting or in a transition program, adult program setting. They are in this host business within their community. These host businesses are preparing these young adults for challenging, complex jobs. They're teaching them marketable skills, giving them an opportunity to build stamina. We often see interns lose 30 pounds while they're in Project Search. They're moving their bodies. They're learning how to eat differently and work differently. They are adding value and neurodiversity to their workplaces and communities. And it's a team approach to training these young adults for employment. We're using managers and mentors. We're using HR professionals. You're going to hear from the interns in a minute and from our instructor, Brooke. But we are using these host businesses as our training ground, essentially, for these young adults. Next slide. Like I said, the goal is working 16 or more hours a week. We have many, many data points in which we collect. It has to pay the prevailing wage. It cannot be seasonal work, and it has to be in an integrated setting. These are the pieces we're looking for a successful Project Search intern. Project Search is not only in Michigan, it is an international program. Just so you know, it started at Cincinnati Children's Hospital in the late 90s, and it has continued to grow for decades now. And we have seen a 50% increase in project search sites in Michigan over the last 3 to 4 years. You can see where our sites are in Michigan here. We range all the way from the Sioux, all the way down to St. Joe. A number of sites in Oakland County. We have a site in West Bloomfield. And Corewell Hospital being our biggest partner. We will have 8 Corewell Health hospitals as our project search host businesses next year. We're really thankful to them. We did open up new sites this past year. Meyer came on board in Genesee County, our Burton Street Meyer. We also had, if you'll go back one slide, Selena, thank you. We had Trinity Hospital in Livingston County come on board, and we also had the city of Sterling Heights, one of our new municipalities coming on board as a host site, and they're working with Utica Community Schools in Macomb. So you can see we're all over. We have some areas that we'd like to expand to, and we'll continue to work on that as Michael, my partner Michael Zibzak, and I work with the development and implementation with school districts and businesses across the state. You can see here are our host businesses. Duncan Aviation is a great host in the Battle Creek area. We obviously have Michigan State. You are going to hear from them soon. Consumers Energy in Jackson, Henry Ford in West Bloomfield, Genesee County Parks, Corewell, Trinity Health, McLaren, and My Michigan up in the Sioux. Oh, and ProMedica. Don't let me forget ProMedica down in Monroe and Adrian. You can see from our data, we have grown. This is our employment data. You can see from the COVID time all the way up until 22-23, we have exceeded expectations. We're far above the national average, and I'd like to let you know that we are the highest performing state in the country. So we're really proud of that data. Approximately 85% of project search interns using those data points find employment within 9 months after exiting the program. And that's our job. As educators, as people in the community, it's our job to prepare so that interns can train and obtain employment. Next slide. So about a third of the interns are hired typically right in that host business. They have the benefit of having this trained pipeline, this talent pool that has been trained right in these businesses so that they can hire them right to their advantage. They know what they're getting, they know where their openings are, and they can hire these interns. If the interns aren't hired right in that host business, it's not mandatory, but if they're not, then we are working with them with our community partners and state agencies like Michigan Rehab Services, like Colton mentioned, the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons. We work with those agencies to help job develop in their communities. So we're looking for those just right jobs. We're not looking for any job. We're looking for a job that fits them as an intern, as a young adult, and so that they can maintain that employment over time. Our average wage is about $14 or $15 an hour, and our average hours per week for our project search interns are 25 hours a week. We have many interns working full-time, earning benefits, and making careers out of jobs. Next slide. This is just a little example of a couple of our sites that have had 100% employment, their average hours per week, and their hourly wage. We're really, really proud of this data that we have interns at Duncan Aviation who have moved not only from an entry-level position to now are managers of toxic waste departments in the aviation department there at Duncan. So we're really proud of that. Next slide. And next, I would like to introduce Brooke Locker. She is the instructor at our Spartan Project Search that has been around for a number of years. And she too has 2 interns with her, Nick and Jayan from Hazlet Public Schools. So Brooke, I'll leave it to you.
Hello, thank you everybody for having us here today. Thanks, Sarah. So we're with Spartan Project Search. As an alum from there, I was very happy to be able to support that program. I'm hired by the Ingham Intermediate School District as a special education teacher, supported with Eddie Luckett, who's here as well as our skills trainer. And we are at the wonderful campus. One extra aspect with what Sarah added as the full inclusion is that our interns get to also work with their peers. They're college-age students that are the same age as them, and so that adds another supportive dynamic too. They're fully immersed. We teach them how to travel around campus. That adds into their independent skills they're learning. So they're learning the catibus, they're learning to walk. We do teach them also Spectran and things like that because we want them to be able to travel and get around once they exit our program. I would say they're going to talk about it, but one of the good things about Project Search is that they get 3 different internship sites. And so they get to try out 3 different jobs. And that's an opportunity for them to learn what they really want to do. Nick came in not really sure about what he wanted to do, and now he's had 3 kind of chances and tried things out and found some stuff he liked and some things he didn't like. So It's a nice aspect in a safe learning environment that they can try those different things. Thankful to Michigan State, they hire about a third of our class each year. And then those who aren't are in the community. One of our dining halls, actually, I took Sarah over there the other day, and we had students from when we started in 2016 still working there and training our current interns from this year. We had a student who hired 2 years ago, still working, and he got promoted to student cook. So it's really cool to kind of see that continuum. They come back and talk in our class about all the things they're doing. We met with a graduate. She's now living on her own in an apartment and working. And so she came in to share with interns the things that could happen in the future. So it's really cool. It's really rewarding, and it's great to see them get some of their experiences to have that that future and independence. So, which one of you would like to go first? Nick? All right, here you go.
Nick. I'll go second.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Soma. I came from Hazlitt High School. I joined Project Search because I wanted to gain work experience. My favorite internship is the MSU library because it is a nice and peaceful environment to work in. I like being on campus instead of school because I learn to travel, meet new people, try jobs, and be more independent. After graduation, I want to get a part-time job.
I also forgot to add, we have students that age 18 to 26. Our average age is about 21. Nick came right from high school. Z did another one of our work-based learning programs and then said, I'm ready to try something harder. And so then she came to Project Search. So, all right, go ahead. Yep, your turn.
Hello, my name is Zion. I came from Hazlitt. I joined Project Search because I want to try different job. My favorite internship is the Bruce. Good food service because I got to serve drink to customer. I like being on campus instead of school because I learn to travel by myself, see different things, and I get to learn about different jobs. After graduation, I want to work full-time in food services or stocking.
Thank you. Thank you, interns. Thank you, Brooke. Thank you for allowing us to share about Project Search Michigan.
Thank you, presenters. That was quite the tour. We appreciate it. Board members, questions or comments? Questions or comments?
Just a question, but first, thank you for coming and presenting. Hearing the that we want to see go away, thank you. Mention something about the site has to be, what qualifies the site is, let's see, I'm looking, I don't know if you can go back in the slides, right? Integrative, it has to be an integrative environment. Have you found that, businesses are open to becoming integrative if they, didn't start out that way? Are they willing to work with you? I mean, what does it look like to be an integrative environment, and are they willing to, have you found businesses are willing to work with you to become that?
100%, yes. Businesses are integrated, and they're looking to expand that diversity within their business. And they actually, Michael and I had meetings with another hospital yesterday. Businesses are coming to us because they see the value add of having interns in their community, changing the culture in terms of how they work with employees. They learn how we accommodate for students. They're using those same accommodations with their other employees. They're learning how to expand what they're doing. I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add,
Yeah,
Brooke, but
I would say multiple supervisors have come to me because we always present it as, there's a little bit of work we need from you, but we want it to be mutually beneficial. And they always say, I think we're getting more than you are because it's helping our employees, it's helping our overall culture. We're getting to experience and learn as we're teaching them. And so they just are like, we're learning so much more from you guys than we're giving you maybe. So yes, definitely.
it's a great question. Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Questions, comments, reflections? Ms. Kuzmano.
First of all, thank you to all the students who came today. It's pretty nerve-wracking sitting up here, and you did a great job. My question is actually for Colton and Henry, that's why I warned you first before I asked. Um, I just wanted to know if you had any advice for your other teachers about what they can do to help students who maybe don't necessarily know what they want to do after high school, how they can help support students like you.
I would say just give them the options. Show them what they, what's out there. If they show a particular interest in a particular field, give them the options within that field. Help them gently ask questions that help them narrow down what they want to do until they find something that really gets them excited, what their passion is.
Thank you.
I personally think that a lot of teachers focus a lot on individuals' personal grade, and they're some of the smartest people ever who go into astrophysicists, stuff like that, didn't do very well in school because their motivations are elsewhere, and they have a lot of things that they would prefer to do than like the basic structure of normal high school. And I think college is one of the things that's pushed a lot, even though how open and accessible career tech education is to a lot of people, and how much people enjoy it and can get paid good money for work that they don't have to spend an exorbitant amount of money to go through school.
Thank you.
I will note that Albert Einstein failed all his classes.
Neil deGrasse Tyson also did.
Thank you.
Dr. Phil?
Thank you, Ms. Kuzmano. Mr. McMillan?
Yeah, thanks for the presentation and the discussions. I think it's really enlightening. I am very much in support of a maximum flexibility, and this gentleman was talking about being able to explore passions. I think, quite frankly, every student should be able to have a lot more flexibility. But for these students, what are the requirements for graduation? Are they, is there differences? I support tremendous flexibility in these areas, but I just would like to understand how much flexibility is being given, and I'm hoping it's a lot.
I could speak to CTE, and then I'll let my peers speak to their program. But in CTE, students have to follow the same graduation requirements as everyone else. But there is some amazing flexibility that's built in. So there's the option to have some integrated academic credits into CTE, where we see that beautiful blend between what you're learning in academics and what you're thinking about for a career. And then there are some options for some waivers. So students who participate in CTE sometimes can waive a credit to make additional room for that CTE program.
And special education can access those same waivers as well. And we also use personal curriculum to make sure students are getting what they need to help them follow that EDP and that transition plan so that we can help them through what they want to do. That's our goal, is to help them figure out what does that look like for me after graduation or after I exit the school system. And that's the work that we do. We build on those goals so that they can be successful after school.
Do you think the current, the current requirements, if they were loosened, would it be help some students that could use some more flexibility, or do you think, currently as it is should remain as far as requirements go?
What we see in CTE so far is a fair amount of flexibility. So I don't get the sense that we need a lot more. We're able to do a lot with what's been given to us in legislation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. McMillan. Ms. Tilley?
Thank you all so much for the presentation. You did a wonderful job. I know you were a little nervous, but you all did great. And I just want to say, I think you're going to do a great job with with whatever you want to do in life. These programs are so important. I want to say, I didn't hear when you were mentioning different businesses, and just want to bring up one that's a good possibility. Yeah. I'm a swimmer, so at the recreation center, we have different employees that I've come across that are special needs, so that might be an option for you. This is great for community integration. What are some of the things that the businesses should think about when they are thinking about hiring and partnering with you all? What are some of the benefits to them? And what are some of the support that they should be giving to employees? What's some of the supports, additional supports?
Yeah, every business is a little bit different in how they look to hire. We have helped transform hiring practices within many of the businesses that host Project Search programs in terms of, does every student or does every employee need to weigh 50 pounds? Does that have to be on the job description? Can we tailor that to a specific need and pull different job descriptions together to fit the strengths of particular people? And I think we're helping businesses look at that differently so there's not such there's broader parameters in terms of how they're hiring. In fact, we did have a Project Search site within the state of Michigan before COVID, and civil service did help us change some hiring practices so that Project Search students who may not have a driver's license, who may not have earned a high school diploma, were able to still access job openings. So we are really, really excited and happy to do that work with our community partners.
Have you experienced a lot of pushback as you?
No, we experience the opposite, actually. Businesses that are eager to learn. How do you do this? How can we support these people? We want taxpayers too. We want young adults to be in our community. We want to employ them, so help us. Sometimes they don't know what they don't know, and that's the business in which we're in, to help them figure that out. What does autism look like? How can we help you with that in your workplace? And so we do access, Michigan Rehab Services has a wonderful program called Windmills that they help businesses with their business unit. And we too, as school professionals, will help them learn and gain knowledge around particular areas that may help them employ.
I know as additional support, one of the things that they probably need extra of, in some instances at least, is training. How does the training work?
Within Project Search, they have the 3 internships, and they're on those internships about 20 hours a week. So not only are we building stamina, we're building different levels of skills. So we have transition assessments in which Brooke works with the interns, and we're meeting twice an internship, what we call employment planning meetings, where they're reviewing what skills have you developed, what do we need to develop more, where are we good, where do we not, where haven't we started that we need to develop. So we are constantly looking at that data so that when they're June 1st, they are ready. They are ready to exit. They're done with us after their last school year, so that they're a good employee, because they want to be integrated into their community, working, earning money, going to do recreational things, going to the East Lansing Art Fair this weekend, those things. That's what we want for them, to be a piece of their community.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I also add, a lot of the businesses that we work with are like, this pool of people that we're using not only come in with the training, but it's the desire to work. And they're very dependable, and they want to be there, and they show up, and they do what's asked of them. And so they're some of the best employees that businesses are having. And so they're willing to take on a little extra training or support. And during our program, I mean, there's 2 of us as staff. We have at least 8 students usually spread across campus. We're not with them all day. Like, we make sure that they're good, we make sure they have the training and the support, and then they're doing it independently. So we're setting them up for that success.
We want to model real life.
Yep.
We want them to be independent and without an instructor and without us for majority of their time. Our job is to polish them up and send them off.
Thank you all for the work that you do.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
That's a great analogy, by the way. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Tilly. Dr. Pugh?
I just wanted to ditto what has already been said, but I wanted to say it myself. I hope that you all recognize the impression that you've made on us, Gavin, Colton, Henry, and is it Zion?
Yep, Zion. Yep.
For me. But to just hear your stories come alive, and your storytelling. Henry was perfect, and it helps us to advocate harder when we hear it from you and we see how it is actually working and working for you all as students. And as my fellow board members have said, we can't wait to see where you go with this. And as you have all said, and Henry, you put it so perfectly with your storytelling, it just helps you to keep going, even when you hit the bumps. So, and it inspires us to do the same and advocate harder. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pugh. Other board members, other reflections? Once, twice, thrice? Okay, did pretty well, board, for early in the morning. Good for you. Young people, I want to thank you for lifting up your own experiences, but also lifting up particular values that are important to our country. We had one young man who quoted from the Declaration of Independence. That was beautiful. I appreciate that. But those American values include diversity. They include inclusion. They include integration. We're about all people. We're a welcoming nation. Public schools are welcoming institutions. And we appreciate you demonstrating that in your presentation today. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, and your presentations were worth many thousands of words. To Mr. McMillan's question about flexibility, it's enormously important that our public schools be flexible. And what we have found in the last several years is that there's an enormous amount of under-tapped flexibility within our state statutes and within our state regulations around CTE, around EDPs, around IEPs, and around personal curricula. Number of personal curricula have increased by 1/3, by more than 30% in the last half decade. And one could argue that that indicates that we weren't fully utilizing these. And one could also argue that though we've increased in the last 5 years, we have miles to go, to paraphrase Frost, before we sleep. A lot of flexibility out there. And we've tapped some of it in the last several years. There's more to tap in the coming years. So young people, we appreciate you. Slightly older people, we appreciate you as well. Thank you very much for shepherding our young people, for supporting them, for educating them. We appreciate all of you. Thank you. Board, it is 10:30. We are going to pivot now. Next item on the agenda is a presentation on Michigan's top 10 strategic education plan, Goal 3, to improve the health, safety, and wellness of all learners, focusing on Michigan school meals and summer food service programs. Our presenters, Dr. Diane Golzinski, Deputy Superintendent in the Division of Business, Health, and Library Services, Dr. Deanne Kelleher, Director of the Office of Nutrition Services, and Mandy Sosnowski, Director of Food and Nutrition Services with Utica Community Schools. This is an informational presentation. No board action is required. Mid-morning snacks may be provided.
Virtual snacks, at least.
Snacks, that's right.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for the time to be able to share updates on the Michigan School Meals and Summer Food Feeding Programs, which are two programs that are administered by our Office of Nutrition Services here at MDE. Those programs help to provide nutrition security for children and align to Goal 3 of Michigan's top 10 strategic education plan. So first, we will focus on the Michigan School Meals Program, also known as Universal Meals or Healthy School Meals for All. This school year is the second year in which pre-K to grade 12 students in Michigan public schools receive one breakfast and one lunch at no cost to their families. Michigan is one of only now 9 states that prioritizes health and academic support by offering free breakfast and lunch at schools. You may have seen the news that it was just yesterday or the day before that the state of New York passed the same law. The funding for Michigan School Meals, oops, I didn't go, there we go. The funding for Michigan School Meals is a combination of both federal funds, which make up approximately 75% of the total project, as well as state funds. Schools receive reimbursement for the meals that they have served to students. Our office works with districts to determine the best way to maximize that federal input. In school year 24-25, the state budget included $200 million to provide state reimbursements to schools. School meals are nutritious and delicious. They are not the same school meals that you may remember from when you were in school. There are 5 components that make up every school meal: milk, whole grains, fruit, vegetable, and dairy, low-fat dairy. The USDA provides strict guidelines for which the foods provided, as well as the types of foods, must be made up within all school meals. School meals offer a variety of different colors and vegetables each week to make sure students get all the nutrition they need to grow and help with learning. I have always stated that school meals not only help to meet the hunger need, but they're designed to specifically teach a child how to eat a healthy diet for lifelong health. Meals are tailored to meet the nutrition needs of growing children based on the age of children that are being served in each building. Those nutrition standards are updated regularly with changes that include things as less added sugars in breakfast starting this current school year. In Michigan, we are also very lucky to have the 10 cents a meal for kids and farms program that is used to promote the purchase and consumption of Michigan-grown fruits, vegetables, and dried beans in our school meals. And kids love it. As you can see, the benefits of the program have continued to show an increase in the number of children who are eating meals every day at school. While the numbers tell a part of the story, we have an average of over 115,000 more children eating breakfast at school every day, and nearly 180,000 more children eating lunch at school every day as a result of this program. But the real story really rests in the power of those meals, in that there isn't shame in eating food at school. And you heard that when we were at the table a couple of months ago with our food service director from Brighton, talking about those students coming to the cafeteria and eating meals because they're there with their friends, and it is part of the culture, it is accepted, and it's a beautiful part of offering that program for free. Children don't have to worry about others knowing that there isn't enough food at home or there isn't enough funds to allow them to eat a meal. Meals are just a part of their day, just as if they go to math class or science class. Meals are the same. Families are not accumulating meal debt, and schools don't have to dip into their general fund, which pays teachers, in order to pay off the debt at the end of the year. School nutrition staff can focus on planning meals that are amazing and serving kids rather than tracking down all of that paperwork. One of the benefits for more students eating school meals is that it also helps us to draw in additional federal funding to support our programs. So in the last year alone, because we were serving so many more meals, we brought in an additional $20 million in federal funds to help purchase U.S. grown products to serve in our programs.
Great, thank you so much. As you can see, children have gotten used to these delicious and nutritious meals available to families benefit from knowing that the children have meals available during the school year, putting less burden on trying to prioritize. Do I pay a bill? that I have for my housing, or do I have my children eat meals at school? But when school ends, the worries start again for families, wondering how their busy, active children will have enough food to keep up with their growth and their energy levels during the summer. Michigan administers 3 different summer feeding programs that are USDA summer feeding programs that help the various needs of children and families across our state. These programs include the Meet Up and Eat Up Summer Food Service Program, the Meals to Go, and Sunbucks. The Meet Up and Eat Up Summer Food Service Program is a program that serves children up to age 18 on-site meals that may be at schools, a local park, a summer camp, or a community-based organization. Meals to Go is a program that started in 2023 that provides children in rural areas 5 to 7 days worth of meals at a time that they take home with them. These 2 programs are offered in locations that are considered lower income, and children do not have to have an application or go through a process in order to get a meal. They are just served those meals. Next slide. So in summer of 2024, Michigan served nearly 7 million meals to hungry children. You can see that is a combination of both the Meet Up and Eat Up Summer Food Service Program, where they're eating on site, or those meals to go in those rural areas. We did see an increase, about 2.5 million extra meals served, especially with the start of that Meals to Go. We'll go to the next. So there are over 1,400 summer meal sites across the state of Michigan, with both Meals to Go and Meet Up and Eat Up. We do have a locator map that helps identify the sites to make it really easy for families to find the site that's closest to them, may it be when they're at home or even when they're traveling. The site is housed on our MDE website. Our data is shared with the USDA, so there is a USDA site, and also with Michigan 211. Now, our site currently isn't active because we're very busy reviewing applications of summer sponsors right now. And we're already seeing an increase in the number of sponsors that want to participate in Meet Up and Eat Up and also the Meals to Go program. We're seeing about a 10% increase in sponsors wanting to start these Meals to Go. And we anticipate we'll serve about 500,000 additional meals this summer alone. I will share a quick story with you about the power of those Meals to Go. A sponsor in Alpena initially thought they would serve maybe about 60 families a week. They wanted to start this. They worked with our office, but that number quickly increased to serving 400 families a week because a local factory had abruptly closed. Our analysts were on their way up for a site visit up in Alpena, and they were driving along, and they noticed there were a lot of tents at the fairground. So they thought, well, they're just preparing for the fair. But when they got to the site, what they found out is those tents were people who had lost their home because of, or the housing they had because of the loss of jobs in the local factory. So our analysts were going around, they're talking to the families that are standing in these long lines. This is children, mothers, fathers, grandparents waiting for the meals to pick up. They were waiting in hours-long lines, and they were sharing their stories that if they didn't have this program, they really don't know how they were going to be able to feed their kids. Our analysts report that this was one of the most humbling experiences that they have had, watching these long lines just for kids to have food for the week. So again, that power of the program. The other picture on this slide is a reminder that our summer food service programs are also eligible to participate in our 10 cents a meal, which is linking those local farms to our child nutrition programs. The picture is from Carroll Community Schools. They were a new Meals to Go sponsor, and they served about 45,000 meals in the month of July last year. And they were partnering with a local Amish farmer to create these fresh organic produce bags that were part of their meal distribution. I think they look pretty yummy. The last program I'll talk about is the Sunbucks, or the Michigan Summer EBT program. This is a program that it is administered by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services in conjunction with Department of Ed. This program provides income-eligible children ages 6 to 18 with $120 worth of electronic benefits to pay for food during the summer. Those that already receive some sort of food assistance, like the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program known as SNAP, will have money added to their card, and those who do not will have a card mailed to them. And the benefits are open for 122 days after that issuance. This program began in the summer of 2024, and we were able to serve close to 1 million Michigan children with the Sunbucks program last year. Children are deemed automatically eligible to participate if they participate in SNAP or income-based Medicaid, the temporary assistance for needy families. And for those schools that are non-community eligibility or CEP, they have income eligibility determined based on their education and nutrition benefits applications. New this year is that children that are in CEP buildings will not automatically qualify unless they automatically are qualifying for one of those income-based programs, SNAP, Medicaid, or TANF. They will need to complete an application through the My Bridges portal through DHHS. Now, MDE has partnered to make this easier. We've partnered with No Kid Hungry this year to create an outreach toolkit and doing some webinars with schools right now to really get the message out that families will need to use the My Bridges. Now, if a family is nervous, they're like, I don't know if I want to start a My Bridges or not. We do have a website with an income calculator so they can quickly go determine, put in that information and decide, am I eligible? And then I will be able to go into the My Bridges. We anticipate that the first rounds of benefits will be issued end of May, maybe early June, and then it's on a continuous basis. So the first round of benefits are those that are automatically eligible, and then on a continuous basis for those who feel like they may qualify and can apply through My Bridges. All right, thank you, and I will let Mandy talk about the programs within her schools.
Okay, great. Dr. Rice, Dr. Pugh, and all of the members of the Board of Education, thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Mandy Cisnowski, and I am the Director of Food and Nutrition Services at Utica Community Schools. With the passing of Michigan school meals over the last 2 years, we have seen a 63% increase in the number of breakfasts, as well as a 69% increase in the number of lunches we serve daily. Michigan School Meals ensures all students, regardless of family income, have access to nutritious meals. It also reduces stigma associated with free and reduced meal programs. Michigan School Meals has given us an opportunity to provide better meal options for our students. Go ahead. Menu items such as we have turkey carnitas that we do with elote, we have a carne asada salad with homemade honey sriracha vinaigrette, garden goddess salad featuring many healthy proteins, and our ever popular Asian chicken bowls with roasted broccoli and brown rice are a huge hit with the kids. We have fun yogurt banana split sundaes for breakfast, which the kids think it's fun, but really it's a lot of vegetable or fruit and good yogurt in there, so it's a great thing for them. Premium whole muscle chicken breast sandwiches for our kids that love those chicken sandwiches. And we even do halal turkey taco meat for our walking tacos for our kids, and other delectable offerings as well. Next slide. UCS students were also able to get figgy with it this year in the fall. So, yes, I said that. Because of Michigan School Meals, we were able to afford fresh produce that students may never have tried before. Fresh figs, we ran those in the fall. Those were amazing. Asparagus, fresh asparagus, Michigan asparagus, coming out right now. We also have peaches, plum, kale and apple salad, which is one of my favorites. Purple cauliflower, persimmons, that was a new one for them this year they've never had before. Candy cane beets, parsnips, Brussels sprouts, and kumquats, which seriously were the sleeper hit of the year. It is the sweet tart of candy, and the kids, they just can't get enough of them, which is amazing. UCS was also able to support Blake's Orchards in Macomb County by featuring their apples during our Michigan Apple Crunch Day. And I don't think you know, but in our UCS
area, we actually serve over 100 cases of apples every day, and those are Michigan apples. So that is huge for our community. So Michigan School Meals right there has been a huge help for our local farmers and our local economy. Next slide. Just as the world is becoming more culturally diverse, so are our schools. At UCS, we want to make sure we're exposing our students to more global and regional flavors. We do this through taste testing. So we've done things like chicken tikka masala, chana masala, enchiladas, chicken shawarma, which is actually topped with homemade garlic sauce that is produced exclusively for UCS at one of the local plants. We have pickle and jalapeno pizza, because why not? And pupusas. This was a great one. Pupusas are actually a cornmeal stuffed pocket stuffed with meat and cheese. It actually originates from El Salvador and from Honduras. And what's amazing about that is it's actually produced from a very small company and that is made for school food. And when we offered this, we did this in one of our northern schools. And we actually have a small group there. It is actually from Honduras. And the kids came up and were trying it, and they were so excited because it tasted like home to them. So that to me, like, was really amazing. But these are some of the things that we featured this year. When students are able to try new things, it can really open up a whole new world to them. And you can see all the smiling faces. They definitely do enjoy trying new things. So again, thanks to Michigan School Meals, we are able to do this. We are able to afford these new opportunities for our students. Next slide. It does take a mighty village for us to be able to produce all these meals at UCS. We have over 150 people on staff, and they are dedicated to making sure that all of these students get proper nutrition and to make sure that we can support their academic performance. Due to Michigan School Meals, we were able to actually increase the demand for school meals, as you know, which increases the demand on my staff. And we are actually able to hire more staff, which is amazing. We're actually also able to give them a higher wage, a living wage, which is really which helps a lot of them because they are our families, they are our moms, they are our dads. We have our grandmas that are here. We have somebody that's 80 years old that actually works for us. We actually have some of our special needs students. One of our staff to the very top left, she's actually one of our special needs kids that was in a program up until the age of 26, and she worked with us. She works with us full time now. And she just absolutely loves it. The girls love her. So it's just an amazing opportunity for our staff. Next. Okay. Nutrition and wellness education is essential to help build strong and healthy community. Because of Michigan School Meals, we were able to hire a registered dietitian, which is awesome. Vinnie Cape is our registered dietitian who graduated from MSU. Go Green. Go White. Thank you. Sorry, I had to do it. He's a graduate actually from UCS as well. So he's very excited to help bring back the wellness knowledge to his community where he grew up. He has helped to bring nutrition education to our students through classroom talks, athletic team meetings, social media campaigns, and wellness fairs. We are very fortunate to have him with us. Next slide. Just because school's not in session doesn't mean that hunger takes a vacation. Thanks to Michigan School Meals, we are able to qualify more schools and sites to help provide meals throughout the summer to our students and our community. This year, we'll run over 15 sites through our summer school food service program and 2 sites through our extended school program for our summer students. At 3 of our sites, we actually go directly into apartment and trailer park communities. Miss Sandy, who you see pictured here with the truck, she actually goes into the community, she honks that horn, and the kids come running. They know Miss Sandy's here, she has food, she greets them every year. She's so excited to see them. She always talks about, oh my gosh, you've gotten so big, I haven't seen you in a while, because she's actually at one of our high schools, so she gets to see all the kids from little all the way big. So she really loves seeing all the new people that come to her, and there's new siblings, maybe they bring a friend that's staying over for the night, so she gets to interact with these kids, and it is really amazing to be able to see those in those communities. Next slide. In conclusion, Michigan School Meals are all about the kids, providing them with consistent access to balanced meals and improving childhood nutrition. It helps combat food insecurity and related health problems like obesity and malnutrition. We know that it reduces hunger, it improves attendance, and decreases behavioral issues. From all the food service directors in the state, all of my staff, and all of our students, thank you. Thank you for your support for Michigan School Meals. Without it, many students would be left hungry, and these smiling faces that you see up there wouldn't be smiling. So let's keep supporting these students so they can have a bright and nourished future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, presenters. That was a great presentation, certainly food for thought. Ms. Tilley.
Thank you so much. You guys are feeding the kids way better than they feed us here. We're coming to you. um, I was thinking we often talk about the psychological benefits. We don't always talk about the physiological benefits of this program, and I'm glad you touched on that. And, we know that the children are still growing. Their bones are growing. They still have plasticity in their brains, so their brains are still growing. Do you educate them on the nutritional benefits of the different foods that they eat, as well as are you educating parents, and what does that look like?
Yes, so actually with our Vinny, he actually goes out into our classrooms. He will talk to different classroom groups. He'll talk to, like for instance, he was at our 6th grade yesterday. He was at Schweitzer Elementary. And he was talking to them about nutrition, about eating and what they should be eating, and if they have questions about eating. So he'll talk about those different things, and it depends, like 6th grade is a little bit different versus like a 2nd grade. So when he goes to a 2nd grade, he will address it a little differently and talk about things that maybe would make sense to them. And then we also put different educational pieces out there to our communities, like our wellness fair. So last fall, we had an amazing wellness fair, and we focused not just on eating, but we also did the psychological well-being as well. So we did a mental health one, we did physical health, and we did physical eating. So it was amazing, and that's one way we go out into our community, bring them in. We had different things for them to try. They had all sorts of different fruits and vegetables. We had someone there talking about exercise. I mean, there's so many different things that we're trying to do in our communities for that, as well as putting it on social media, getting different messages out there, and then he also interacts with the kids in the classrooms. So.
I think it's so important for us to understand how we feel is a lot of times related to what we're eating, and how different things that we eat can improve our health. So
exactly,
yeah,
and that's what he does try to talk about, with the students in there, and just simple little things about how you can eat a little bit better. Maybe trying this, trying that. Okay, did you see that candy cane beet? Do you know what it is? Just give it a bite. If you don't like it, well, then maybe just say no thank you after I bite it, but I tried it. So he does try to encourage those different things with them, so, which is really awesome.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tilley. Dr. Robinson?
So Dr. Pugh and I had an opportunity last month to go to a conference, and we presented on a panel in front of teachers and advocates from all over the country. And I would say the two accomplishments that we've had in Michigan that got the best response from the audience were school meals for kids, because it's a direct benefit to kids and families, right? And the student teacher stipends, which is a way for us to directly support future teachers going into the profession. What I'm hearing from you, also the story about the pupusas and the kids feeling like they were at home, I could see everybody around this table thought of something that they enjoyed at a family gathering, or that it's an important way for us to build community in schools, and I saw the use of that word several times on your slides. I just think it's worth us recognizing how important it will be to have ongoing support, budgetary support for both of those initiatives as we move forward, not just as 1-year additions to the budget every year, so that there's a sense of chaos around these programs ongoing. They need to be permanent in the budget. We always think of how we're going to use money to improve schools, to improve education for kids, to improve lives of families and communities. These are direct benefits that we see tangible results to. And I'm also glad that you didn't put any test scores up there. Thank you. Because this is about having kids feel comfortable at school, feeling ready to learn, When I talk to teachers, again, this program gets just universal praise from teachers that it's eliminated stigmas in the cafeteria, it's eliminated shame for kids that were going through the lines before and having to show various kinds of identities and proofs. And it's what we should be doing for children in schools. I don't think there's anything we do that's more important than this. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Dr. Robinson. Other board members? Other board members' reflections. Dr. Pritchett.
Thank you. So the summer program, parents have to fill out some paperwork or qualify for, or I'm thinking of the lady who comes in the truck because she pulls into a community center, and if Susie is visiting her cousin from Kentucky, she can come out and have a meal also. And there's no, where's your paperwork? Who do you belong to, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's what's wonderful about that program. Anybody comes up, because my best friend stayed the night tonight, so we're going to have meals. We're having lunch together. So it is really nice to see that. It doesn't matter. Literally, as long as they're under 18 years old, we're all set to go.
Okay.
Which is amazing.
So the meet up and eat up and the meals to go, that's just based, so the sites are in lower income areas. So the sites are in areas that have higher need, but again, no application necessary. It's only Sunbucks that has an income eligibility because that's direct food assistance benefits. But the meet up and eat up and meals to go, again, people in need walk right up. Again, that's why we're our site locator. Our families love the site locator map because it's like, well, I'm going to be up and visiting grandma. But then we can go to, here's a local site that I can go for meet up and eat up.
So nobody's questioning, gee,
Nobody's questioning.
okay, great.
Wonderful.
Questioning, I'm sorry, I missed the end of the sentence.
Nobody's questioning, do you live here? Do you, I didn't see you the last time I was here, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Dr. Pritchett. Other board members? Dr. Pugh.
Just a couple of questions or thoughts, and thank you for this very important work. And as Board Member Tilley mentioned, really drawing that inferences or the connection to the health as well as the academic benefits. Talking about, is it the 10-cent a meal? Is that what it's called? And where are we with that? Because that's dependent on our farmers, correct? That's connected to, is that the part that's connected to the farmers?
10 cents a meal is our state-funded
Right.
program. That's
Okay.
our state-funded
Okay.
program.
Okay, I'm
So we
getting
have
it.
money in the state aid budget that covers that one. Yes.
Okay, and how are we feeling about that, the disconnection from the farmers? Did you guys mention that today? I thought you mentioned that. The programs with the farmers being able, the local farmers that we work with.
That was a previous presentation. We
Okay,
didn't talk
and
about
are
that
we,
today,
right,
but-
so is that done with? Was that?
The federal funding?
Yes, the federal
is done.
funding.
Correct.
Okay, there's not been any injunctions or anything that has stopped our farmers from being able to provide healthy foods to our communities, our school children.
So in our 10 cents a meal, so we are still linked up with our farmers and our 10 cents a meal.
Yeah, that's what I
And
thought.
so we still
Okay.
have that. It
Right.
just was, we had envisioned a beautiful expansion of that. And so with the federal funds leaving, but we continue with that and we are hopeful to have that continued support in the state budget.
Okay, all right, and I guess my question around that was, have we advocated enough for that? Have we exhausted our advocacy? Because I had the opportunity to meet with some of those farmers, and the benefit to our farmers that definitely benefits our children and communities. And I guess maybe that's a question for you, Dr. Rice.
I think we advocated initially for a legal solution. We don't believe at the end of the day there is a legal solution. We peeled it back, and I think the feeling is that though we disagree with the cut, it was legally done. That's different from some of these other cuts with which we disagree and that were illegally done. In this case, we disagree, but that particular cut to local farmers, underrepresented farmers, was legally done. So it's a budget fight that will, go through the spring into the summer and into, one imagines, into the end of September, if Congress is able to generate a complete budget at the end of September. We'll see if it does. Oftentimes, they limp through with a series of continuing resolutions.
Okay, so, and I call it bullies in the lunchroom snatching lunches and breakfasts from our children, and in this situation, being able to snatch opportunity from our local farmers. A thought, there's obviously growing um, urban gardening um, throughout the country, but definitely in the state. And we had a presentation where actually it was a school that was connected directly with the urban garden. Have we looked at any of those opportunities as we're looking to fill these hunger gaps for our children and families?
Absolutely. Our work with regional food hubs has been incredible. You and I have been at the Flint Fresh Food Hub together. That was one of the food hubs that was built specifically to gather from urban farmers or other smaller farmers and aggregate the product so that it can go to hospitals and schools and other places. So that type of work, there's a number of them around the state that we're working with to help make that happen.
Okay, and would love to talk more about like some of the community centers that are doing urban gardening, and one of their biggest fears is when it comes to harvesting time and there being waste. So looking at opportunities to again fill that need and the gap that has widened.
Yes, thank you.
But we also had the opportunity to hear a couple of years ago from Malik Yakini,
Right,
Baba Malik
absolutely.
Yakini at this table. You had invited him for Black History Month and to share at that time, and he is an urban gardener as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything more, Dr. Pugh?
No, keep up the amazing work.
Okay. Other board members, other reflections? Once, twice, thrice? You sure? That was a very, very fruitful presentation. We appreciate it. We appreciate that you got figgy with it, and that you weren't afraid to put meat on the bones of the food issue. Thank you so much. And you didn't ham it up at all.
Thank you, Dr.
Board, it's 11:05. We're going to pivot to a presentation on the impact of federal library cuts. This presentation will show how these cuts will have impacts on all library types, public, academic, and school, as well as on the Library of Michigan. We welcome our presenters, backed by popular demand, Dr. Diane Golzinski, Deputy Superintendent of the Division of Business, Health, and Library Services, Mr. Randy Riley, State Librarian, Library of Michigan, Mr. Glenn Fisher, the Director of the DeWitt District Library, and Mr. Larry Neal, the Director of the Clinton Macomb Public Library. This is an informational presentation. No board action is required, but we want you to read into this all that there is to be read. Presenters, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Rice. Good morning again, board. It's great to be back with you. This time talking about libraries and what the world would look like should funding for our libraries from the federal level be cut, and how we would address that. Because libraries are not something that we are often at this table for, we thought we'd start out with just some acronyms, because we can all speak complete speeches in acronyms. And so if we get into that, we thought we'd share a few of the key ones for you. So Randy Riley is our state librarian, and his national organization is called the Chief Officers of State Library Agencies, otherwise known as COSLA. The primary funding source for which we will be talking about today comes from the Institute of Museum and Library Services, otherwise known as IMLS. That comes out of the Federal Library Services and Technology Act, or LSTA. It primarily funds what you're going to hear today, our Michigan E-Library, otherwise known as MEL, or the Michigan E-Library Union Catalog, otherwise known as MELCAT. And if you need to stop us as we go, please feel free, but that's just an overview of the types of things that we will discuss. So how are Michigan libraries funded? If you go to a small rural town and you see the Sandusky Public Library, what does that look like? 96.9% of local library budgets come from local funds, local taxpayer dollars in those areas. The rural and low-income urban or suburban areas often have difficulty providing enough of those local funds to maintain more than just a basic library function or service for their community. In comes some additional state funds. The state of Michigan provides funding directly to the public libraries only, so none of the private libraries, just public. These funds are distributed by population and are for nearly 400 institutions statewide. And then we have federal funds. Those IMLS, or Institute for Museum and Library Service Funding, is the only federal agency which provides funds to local Michigan libraries. And the state of Michigan gets approximately $4.8 million per year. Those funds are critical, though, as I was talking about earlier, especially for those rural and low-income urban and suburban libraries that don't have the local taxpayer base to provide additional supports and services needed for their community. Randy?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to speak to all of you today. And the acronym list is my fault. I quickly go into speaking an acronym, so forgive me if I do that again. But just an overview of sort of where we're at today. In a world where the federal funding for libraries is hotly kicked around topic now, I alternate from feeling like I am the canary in the coal mine saying, hey, there is some real warning signs that we have to be aware of, without appearing to be the boy who cried wolf, because it's such a fast changing situation. What I say today might slightly be altered tomorrow. But the current situation is that on March 14th, the administration issued an executive order calling for the elimination of IMLS and all of its functions except those that are statutorily required. And that's where the debate comes in. What are those statutorily required functions of the agency? There's a lot of uncertainty, so as we look at going into what does this mean for MEL and MELCAT, it's hard to determine, but I do know we're at the end of a contract cycle, so we're just getting ready to issue our next round of RFPs for people to be the content for MEL and working with MELCAT. And will we have the federal dollars to support that? That's still up in the air. Good news, we did receive word that 50% of the allotment, we were notified that we were going to get that. And with the hope that the other 50% they would alert us about by the end of this month. So that means we can get through the end of September 26th. But after that, everything's up for grabs. The administration's skinny budget that was issued still has a call for zeroing out the Institute of Museum and Library Services, and that would be terrible for what we do. If you look at IMLS funding nationally, the whole department, the whole agency gets about $294 million. 180 million of that is dedicated to the Grants for States program. That is the money that the Library of Michigan receives. Every state and territory gets a certain amount of money from grants to states. The minimum for states is $1 million, and then it goes up based on population of each state. Our cut of that is about $4.8 million. There are other grant programs through IMLS, the grants for Native American and Native Hawaiian library services, National Leadership Grants, and the Laura Bush grants. All of those grants that were active were halted. Any of the competitive grants were stopped. But now as people are starting to appeal those for other states, they're starting to reissue or provide that money. So it's still hard to determine what's going to happen with those competitive grants. But moving forward, they will be hugely at risk. Funding challenges for Michigan libraries have always been huge. One is the state budget for the Library of Michigan has been flat forever. And we all know that when you have a flat budget, it's great. You're not losing. But prices of everything are going up. So you're having to constantly reorganize, reduce your services, or reprioritize what's happening. There's a real inconsistent library support in communities across the state. Saying their local control is fantastic. Some communities fund their libraries at a higher level than we have at the state library, and other libraries function on less than $80,000 a year. And when a patron walks through the door, they expect to receive the same kind of service, which isn't always possible. And then IMLS funding has remained flat since the 1990s as well. It's only increased for us about $200,000 over the last 15 years or so, which is great, but I'm telling you that does not keep up with the cost of what the database content is that we make available on MEL. IMLS funding in Michigan, you can see for MEL is the e-content, the databases. If you want to do searching and find journals or peer-reviewed articles, those MEL databases are where you would go. It's about 80 or so databases that we have as part of MEL. It's available 24/7 to all the residents of Michigan, and it's roughly around $3.5 million to make that work. MELCAT, which is the catalog, it is a group, a member of about 440 libraries in Michigan of all types, public, academic, and school. And what you basically agree to do is share your material statewide. So if you want to borrow through MELCAT, you have to agree to lend through MELCAT. And that program costs about $1.3 million. And then the delivery service, where we circulate over 1 million items a year, is about $1.1 million. That is what the individual libraries, their portion of the buy-in to the MEL program is covering delivery, and that for some libraries is getting harder and harder to cover. Also, what we use federal funds for our sub-grant program, where we give grants up to $25,000 to Michigan libraries. We have continuing education travel stipends that we make available for staff at various libraries, and then the programming and training that we do, memberships to organizations, workshop training, summer reading, all of that stuff is covered with federal funds as well. We're lucky when we look at MEL. We've made the conscious choice before I became state librarian that the dollars we get from IMLS were going to be used on programs over staffing. About 1.5 staff positions are paid with those federal funds. Some states like Colorado pay for 70% of their staff with those federal funds. We have chose to pay with our staff with the general funds, use our federal money to do the programs that we need to do. It's a way that we're getting some of those funds out of Washington and putting them back into the communities in our state, which we think is really important. If you look at the use, last year, a little over 19 million articles were downloaded or retrieved from MEL. During COVID, when they couldn't get access in libraries, or schools were closed, it was as high as 29 million articles. So it's made a huge difference. The return on investment is about $27 for every dollar we spend, which is a huge amount. And if you look at MELCAT use, I mentioned there's 1.1 million items that circulate statewide from all over. You have your University of Michigan's participate in MELCAT, and public libraries, and a handful of school libraries as well. And the return on investment, that is about $25 for every dollar spent, which is a pretty significant. So for our $4.5 million or so, we get over $100 million worth of impact from that. That's what, if we don't have the federal funds, we would be missing. When you look at use of especially Melcat, the circulating of items. It allows some of our smallest libraries to not have to think they have to purchase every item that a patron comes through the door, but by using Melcat, you can bring in those special titles that are sometimes very expensive into your library within a couple days. For the database use, there are schools in Michigan which are a huge user of the databases. They would not be able to afford the database content if we did not provide it through those MEL databases. It would not happen. The same thing, community colleges. For most of our community college, their entire database content is the MEL database at our hand. They don't have budgets where they're buying additional content to add to that. And the same thing, there are some of the smaller four-year colleges and universities, again, that MEL is pretty much their database content that they have at their institutions as well. Intentionally, when we were building MEL, these MEL databases were meant to be a core, and the libraries would buy databases that would supplement, that would be more specific to their communities. What we found out is they just have not had the resources to do that, which has been unfortunate. A lot of the conversation today is, libraries aren't as essential as they used to be. I have a smartphone or I have internet access at home. Why do I need the library? And just a quick list of some of the library stats. There are over 30 million people visited libraries last year, which is a pretty healthy number. Over 180,000 children and teens participated in summer reading, which is hugely important. 3.5 million attended programs at their local library, 53 physical items and 23 million digital items circulated. Hotspots, you can see the list that goes on. Unfortunately, we don't have the same kind of data for school or academic libraries because they don't have to report them to us in that way. But there's the same kind of impact that their libraries at the schools are making on those students. So we are very worried about losing the federal funding and what that would mean. It would be very hard to continue MEL and MELCAT in that environment. And to lose those resources would be very hard on a lot of the communities in Michigan that need it the most. So we're looking at long-term thinking of what does budgeting look like and starting that conversation. Michigan is part of the lawsuit, the AG's office in DC right now over what's happening with the Institute of Museum and Library Services. There was an injunction that was sort of saying stop doing any more to the agency, but we will see how that plays out in the future. I think the intent right now is to make IMLS smaller or eliminate it entirely. That would be something that we would really have to do a lot of thinking and creative thinking to maintain MEL and MELCAT at any level close to what we have today. So I've done a lot of talking about what's going to happen with the federal funding, but I have two of our friends from the public library world that use MEL, use MELCAT on a daily basis, deal with their users, their patrons on a daily basis who have become very dependent on those resources, and they can tell you a little bit about what's going on in their various libraries. Let's start with you, Glenn. Cool.
Thank you. I'm Glenn Fisher. I am the director at the DeWitt District Library, just north of you in DeWitt. We are in Clinton County, and we have many other libraries in Clinton County that are smaller than us in terms of the populations they serve. But DeWitt serves about 21,900 people, and we are probably the busiest building in the city. So that's true of a lot of suburban and rural libraries, is that if you look, that's the busiest spot where you're going to find communities because we are their center. We are a center of community. So when people are retooling, finding their new career after being laid off or choosing to move on to a different phase of life, they come to us looking for help because they don't know where else to go. The MEL databases that are provided are an important part of that conversation that we have with our patrons. Uh, they, there are several resources there, but the most important one that I've used personally is the Learning Express Library that helps our patrons assess their skills and tells them what careers match to those skill sets and what the job outlook is. It gives them a ton of really good information to help them make informed decisions about what they want to do with the rest of their life. So that is one of our more popular databases, in addition to the Novelist Plus that we have access to through MEL. And that helps people find books that they want to read, books on a particular theme or topic or by an author. The really impactful thing that I, as a librarian, treasure is the fact that I can print it. So a lot of people don't have the smartphones or they don't want to deal with keeping track of it on an email or anything like that. They just want a simple list they can put on their refrigerator. That database formats everything, particularly series information, in a way that makes it easy for them to tick off how far they've made it through that series. So these are just two pretty small, in the big picture, examples of the impact that we see on those databases at our small and rural libraries, like mine, on a daily basis. Melcat, in addition to this, Melcat is a vital resource for us because of our size, our physical size. We can't have everything. We can't have the full runs of an author. We can't, people would love that if we could just have all the books, but we can't. But Melcat turns a conversation at the circulation desk from, I'm sorry, I can't get that for you, to, yes, we can have that and we'll be here in a few days. Many times those materials are out of print. So even if if they can see it in a library catalog, without Melcat, they can't get it. And when you're doing historical research or scientific research, or even just research for your own interests, getting some of those out-of-print materials is vital. Not everything, believe it or not, is electronic or on the internet or buyable through Amazon or eBay. And the things that some people have found, they've shown me pictures. This book cost $150. Can you get it for me? Yes. How much will that cost? It's included with your library membership. I never say free. I say that's included with your library membership. So the MEL databases and the Melcat catalog are two really important tools. And the other thing that both of those tools allow us to do is to make sure that our public knows what's available to them. If they're looking for a particular topic or an author or they have a problem to solve, we can use these tools to get them answers. Google can't. A lot of people rely on that. And they come to us when their Google search fails, or they get frustrated, or they hit paywalls every time they try to click a link. They say, oh, the answer's there, but I can't get to it. We can't. And we can do that because of the federal funds that supply these resources to our communities. And that's from big libraries like Larry Neal's to small libraries that are run by one person in the middle of a small village. They have the same access to that. Every Michigan citizen deserves that access. So I appreciate the time that you've given me to listen to me go on about how much I love my job and how valuable IMLS funds are to our communities and how we can better serve them with those funds than without. So I want to give all the remaining time to my colleague, Larry Neal.
Good morning. Thanks, Glenn. Good morning, Dr. Rice. And a special shout out to Tom McMillan. Go Rochester Adams, class of 1983. I shouldn't have said the year, should I? Sorry. This is being recorded and broadcast. It's okay. 1993. I'm sorry, I misread that. Thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts about the importance of sustaining funding for MEL and MELCAT. My brief remarks are going to cover a little bit about my library district, some local data that we collect, and then some verbatim anecdotes from we call them customers at my library, so words directly from their mouths. The Clinton-Macomb Public Library is a voluntary district partnership serving nearly 200,000 residents in Clinton Township and Macomb Township in Macomb County. We have an independent governing library board. We are a big library, so our annual checkouts exceed 1.6 million transactions a year. We have a collection of 700,000 items and an annual budget for physical and electronic materials of around $1.1 million. So we're a public library serving people of all ages, but we strive to provide the best resources and partnerships possible with parents as the child's first teacher through their years of formal education, career development, continuing with lifelong learning, and then as we all know, as you get older, health resources and information become increasingly important. We serve about 30,000 public, private, charter, and homeschool students. We cover 2 public school districts and parts of 4 others. While my library has a healthy collection budget, it's going to sound a lot like Glenn's, we can't purchase or house everything that our community needs and wants. MELCAT's my library's only source of interlibrary loan and a critical connection to expanding access to my customers from my 700,000 items to 34 million items. With electronic resources, the Library of Michigan bids out contracts for them, saving my library time, getting far better pricing with economies of scale, buying at the state level, and ensuring that when my school outreach team goes to a classroom and works with a teacher, they know that all their students, regardless of where they live, which could be in multiple library districts, they have the same access to resources. You know, I've got a big library system directly to the north of me in Ray Township. It's a one-room schoolhouse. So those students have the same access that they do if they lived in my community. So while I hold a master's degree from U of M, go Blue,
Go Blue.
School of Information, and I have an MBA from Oakland University, go Pioneers, Grizzlies. I run my library with a strong focus on customer satisfaction metrics and community input to ensure we're continuously responding to the changing needs, local needs. So we just completed our biannual survey. We had 5,000 responses in a week and a half from cardholders age 16 and above. And the timing was great this year because I could throw in a question or two about MEL and MELCAT. When we asked people and we gave them the basic facts that you just saw, 74% of the respondents, 3,000 people, said to us that they felt this was a good use of tax dollars. As you might guess, there were a lot of people who had not used the service or were familiar, so about 20% of them said, I don't know. And then only about 196 people, 5%, a little under that, said they didn't feel it was a good use of tax dollars. The other thing that I love about the community that I serve is that the demographics vary greatly from one end of the district to the other. So when I segmented out the different areas by zip code in the responses, the support for MEL and MELCAT was still incredibly high in the 70% range. 18% of the respondents, or 750 people, indicated they used MEL or MELCAT. And so I was able to ask them about how they used it. On an aggregate level, we lend out about 9,000 items a year for my library. We borrow about 9,000 a year. We lend out about 15,000. So you might say, well, that math's not so good, MBA graduate. But you know, we have a lot of popular materials, so I'd be happy to lend out 5 or 10 graphic novels in exchange for a nursing textbook that probably costs 10 to 20 times that. In terms of how they're using it, we got 500 answers back. I will not read 500 answers about how people use the system, but I did pick out a few that really stuck out to me. So, quote, "Melcat was an invaluable resource when I was in college. The prices of textbooks and additional written materials used for a class can be astronomical, even at a community college. When you're a student who's already broke from paying tuition, Melcat provides the books and resources needed for my education and became a lifesaver. The service saved me easily hundreds of dollars, but its worth is actually priceless because it made my continuing education possible." Quote, "CMPL sometimes doesn't carry an author's entire collection, so it's nice I can borrow books from other libraries just by ordering them through Mel and having them delivered to CMPL. Sometimes those small libraries that don't have a great budget to put brand new things on the shelf constantly have back issues of things, and then we borrow them from those libraries." Next quote, "I'm a homeschooler, so we've used it for supplemental teaching aids." Quote, "I use it for free access to journals, medical, psychology, psychiatry, learning, and teaching I don't subscribe to. Can't pay for every journal myself. These journals are important in informing my practice as an instructor of nurses and in treating and teaching patients. Although all healthcare providers must pay for X hundreds of hours in continuing ed credits every few years, it's not enough. We need up-to-date journals to track the latest research and applied evidence. My job doesn't provide free resources to employees who teach and see patients, and we're not paid enough to afford all the journals we need. Without these journals, I'd not be able to do my best teaching or provide my best informed patient care." Quote, "I use Mel and Melcat for reading research articles related to my profession. I'm a speech-language pathologist, and this database helps connect me with recent journals." Quote, "Sometimes the only way I found books in a series was reading through Melcat. Can't expect my local library to house every book I'm looking for. That's when I turn to Mel, and I'm usually able to find it. I can't afford to buy books, so I'm glad there are other means of gaining the knowledge and keeping my mind sharp." And then last quote, "Our household has accessed Mel for academic research for college classes. We've also used the, as Glenn said, Learning Express library for test prep and career skills." So in summary, these services are highly valued by my community and worth funding. The funding amount is a tiny drop in the state budget and a subatomic particle in the federal budget. It's hard to think of much more efficient use of tax dollars than Mel and Melcat, available to every resident in the state to enhance reading, learning, research, and more. So thank you for the opportunity to share my perspective and thoughts.
Thank you, presenters. We appreciate that. It's been a long time since we've heard about subatomic particles at our state board meeting. That was terrific. And shout out to the Rochester Adams class of 1983. That was precious.
For some.
So, board members, questions or comments? Dr. Robinson.
I don't know that there's a public institution that has done a better job of adapting to change and making themselves increasingly relevant than libraries and all the kinds of libraries that you all mentioned. So thank you, and I hope that this presentation helps us understand how important it is to fully fund what you all do. So thank you for what you do every day.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Anyone else? Other board members? Mr. McMillan.
I don't know who to direct my questions to, but I guess Mr. Riley maybe, since he's the state librarian. So is the suggestion that if this 4.8 million that the federal government provides is discontinued, that this Mel and Melcat, the interfund or interagency borrowing of articles and downloading and sharing is going to go away? Like it'll be closed?
Yeah, there's a big risk that they will disappear or be altered significantly as to what's available and who can participate. There's always, some states do similar kinds of programs, but it's a pay-to-play model. And we could always go to that, which I would be reluctant to do because so many of the libraries could not afford to pay to play. So we would be telling no to people. We do have some state funding for Mel as well, so it might allow us to keep part of something going, but as robust and complete as it is now, there's no way that we could do it in the same way.
The state funding, I guess it's at 16, it's been flat, you said 16.6 million, that's shared by 400 institutions. That was on one of the slides. Does that sound about right?
The state funding that we get, yeah, that's not our state funding. I'm not sure what slide you're,
State general fund funding. is-
Slide number 3,
yeah.
how Michigan libraries are funded. Yeah, that middle one, state funds, 16.567 for nearly 400.
We oversee state aid. That goes out directly to libraries.
Okay, so there's
in the
400
state.
libraries? Is that
Roughly, it's about
approximately? Okay, so,
397.
so that's about $11,000, if my math is right, per library, on average. Some are smaller, some are a lot larger, but, so you're saying that there'd be no way to come up with $11,000 per library to fund Mel or Melcat?
Is it, excuse me, is the question in the legislature or in the Library of
Just at the
Michigan?
local, I mean, Clinton Macomb, according to their audit, gets, $10 million from property taxes, $11 million total last year. I mean, they couldn't come up with $11,000 to, put in their portion, or?
Want me to answer that? Of course I can. I'm a big library system. It's not gonna hurt me. I've got $1 million budget. It's gonna hurt Ray Township. It's gonna hurt the vast majority of Michigan's libraries that are small and rural. As Brandy mentioned, $80,000, $100,000 budget, one person shop doing everything. That's who it's gonna hurt. It's not gonna hurt my library.
There's 100,000. I looked up there, the DeWitt Library brings in about $1 million in revenue, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be all that difficult to find, 0.1%. And then the other thing is that I would imagine if the 4.8 million was supplanted by the state, if they increased their funding, then the program could go forward, right? I mean, if you got 4.8 million from the state versus the feds, it'd still be 4.8 million, right? Yeah. So I mean, we're spending, the governor has $200 million of corporate welfare to big companies in order to get headlines. A 2%, 2.5% of that money would fill this. So I don't quite understand why we send our money to the feds. They take a cut, they spend money very inefficiently. And so maybe, they take 10 million from our pockets and send back 5 million, and we call that, something that's, wonderful. I think that maybe keeping it here in the state and making sure that we fund our own libraries, or the locals do, I think is more of a reasonable thing to do. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Other board members, other reflections? Going once, twice. Ms. Snyder, Ms. Tilley, Dr. Pugh.
Just, I'm reading from various things too with mcls.org and just Melcat itself and Mel and what it is, the software licensing, participation in the delivery of the service, what goes into the line items of each one of these. And it just seems, I'm just trying to figure out, is there any way also to go back to the board that governs Mel and Melcat and to look into their budget to see too that, there isn't extraneous costs that can be reduced there? Just because everything, this is for a software license. An annual software license, $11,000 for one local library is an example of what Tom is saying, what goes into that for that local library. Because these numbers are somewhat helpful, a little less helpful to understand how they actually compute to local library budgets. Yeah, I guess that's all I would say.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Ms. Tilley, Dr. Pugh.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I really appreciate your passion and your commitment to your libraries and other libraries as well. I know that the need is so important. Whether you're a child coming into the library for the first time and you're getting that programming, and you're getting that access, or whether you're a college student and you need that access to make sure that because one of the things that we were taught in college is, like you said, Google is not always accurate. Wikipedia is not a good resource, even though they've gotten a lot better. So I definitely appreciate our libraries, and really wanted to know, what can we do to support you all, especially when it comes to funding? Is there anything that we can do to support you all?
I think part of that is why we're having this conversation, is because if the federal funding is eliminated, then we're going to have to be very creative. And would there potentially down the road be state dollars that could be allocated? And when those conversations are happening, having the support of this board saying, yeah, this is something that's impacting students at the K-12 and university level, and it's impacting our smallest communities and their public libraries. Those kind of advocates and friends, when we're having those conversations, would be extremely helpful.
Thank you. I'm sure that the majority of this board will be available for you, however you need us to advocate for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tilley. Dr. Pugh?
To the directors, Glenn and Larry, your response to Board Member McMillan compels me to thank you all for doing this advocacy work. You all don't have to be sitting down there at the end of the table talking about how important this is to your corners of the world, but to be there where you are and take time out of your day, it speaks to your compassion for others and making sure that you are talking about the importance of this being accessible to all. And so I just thank you for that, because not everybody thinks like that. And in a time that we're in today, I thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedules and doing that. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pugh. Anyone else for the good of the group? Ms. Kuzmano?
I just wanted to say thank you as a high school English teacher that teaches at Rochester High School.
The other high school,
sorry.
now there's three.
But I fully support what you're doing, but I remember my mom was a Head Start preschool teacher in Concord, Michigan, which is very, very small. And I remember from a very young age, the biggest deal in the world was crossing the street from where the Head Start program was to the library. And my twin and I pretty much rated everything that they had. That was how, we really got through the summers while my mom was working. We were reading, and I think that is something, and I think Tiffany spoke about it, is it's those small rural communities that have to use their funds in other ways that are gonna be the most affected by this. And knowledge is power, and knowledge is access. And when I spend time in the UP and I see the lack of what they have at their disposal, to have a library that is fully funded with support and access to information gives students and families just places and spaces where they can see a future that maybe isn't directly in front of them. I know it did for me growing up, and I know like where I am now, and the access that I see around me is just infinitely more than when I was a child. So I just wanted to say thank you and echo the support, at least from teachers, that we need more from libraries, not less. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kuzmano. Any other board member? Dr. Pritchett?
Thank you. I am a resident of Macomb County and have visited your library. It is a beautiful facility, so we certainly appreciate that, but I reside in northern Macomb County, so I also appreciate both of your advocacies for those small facilities where they are the center of the community. And their summer reading programs are being advertised, and parents are making plans to take their students there. And when we talk about where our community event's going to happen, 9 times out of 10, oh yeah, it's at the library. I think what we sometimes forget is those are brick and mortar buildings that get leaks in their roofs. and need to have the sidewalks plowed in the wintertime, et cetera. So, when we start talking about budgets, and being able to fund what we need to fund, we have to take all of that into consideration. So thank you for your advocacy, for all of your advocacy.
And I think all of our libraries, no matter what their size, are hugely important in their communities. But just to say, I was trying to get one of the smallest library directors to be here, and her response was, I can't be, because I'd have to close the library if I were going to show up. And that's the reality of some of those smallest libraries. They are a 1 or a 2-person shop. And if they're going to be here and be vocal, then they're closing their doors to their community, which they just won't do. So we are lucky to have directors who can speak beyond the walls of their own buildings to represent that library community.
Thank you, Dr. Pritchett. Anything more from any other board member? So you mentioned that there are 397 public libraries. Is that what I heard-ish?
Systems, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And larger libraries, like larger school districts, get more attention. But they're not more important in their communities. They're just bigger libraries in bigger communities, smaller libraries in smaller communities. I'm reminded that fewer than 10% of the school districts in the state have 5,000 or greater children. It's hard for people to wrap their heads around, but 90% of our school districts are under 5,000 children. Well more than half are under 3,000 children. So tell me about the small libraries. Small libraries are one-person operations.
Yeah, a lot of them are, and a lot of them, may have 1 or 2 people with only no one working full-time, and their commitment to making that space available to that community. And it may be students who need a place after school to go, but it also may be seniors in that community that need a place to go and gather. In libraries, books and reading and information are always going to be a crucial part of what's happening in library spaces, but also this morphing into more of community centers where people are gathering to meet, to have public meetings with folks is becoming more and more important as well. In a lot of places, and it's not just rural, it could be some of our most urban communities, that branch library, that little library might be the only piece of community that's left when the school is closed and the corner store has closed, but that branch library is still there in an area that has not much else left. It's important to those people who live in that space. And a lot of times, yeah, kids, we think of libraries for children, but it's not just for children. I mean, we're lifelong learning. Zero to the grave are what libraries are focusing on, and our programming does the same.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. You mentioned that every Michigan citizen deserves that access. You were talking about Mel and Melcat, I think. But the same could be said for a local community library, a convening space, a space where you have access to knowledge, literature, books of a wide range, the ability to communicate with other people. It shouldn't be the sole province of people who have means or who are in highly populated communities. So I understand, I don't think you need the MBA to know that you can make a $10,000 or $11,000 cut with a large budget, but if your budget is only $80,000, $90,000, $100,000, that becomes a pretty big cut indeed. And libraries, as a rule, run on shoestrings. They're pretty amazing, and so too librarians and library directors. So we appreciate them all. Gentle people, thank you so much. We appreciate your presentation. Very much
Thank you for your
worthwhile.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So board, it's 11:51, and because the chair doesn't like to miss an opportunity, we're going to hop to the approval of meeting minutes. Approval of the minutes of the regular and committee of the whole meeting of April 8th, 2025. If I could have a motion to approve from Ms. Lipton, seconded by Ms. Tilly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Lipton? Yes. McMillan?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Pugh?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Snyder? And Tilly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. And if I could have an approval for the confirmation of the closed session of April 8th, 2025. Ms. Lipton makes the motion. Do I have a second? Second by Dr. Pritchett. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Lipton? Yes. McMillan?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Pugh?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Snyder?
Yes.
And Tilly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And if I could have a motion to approve the minutes of the Legislative Committee meeting of May 8th, 2025, moved by Dr. Robinson, seconded by Ms. Lipton. Is there any discussion?
Is audio's available?
Audio is available, yep. It is standing room only for the audio. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Lipton?
Yes.
McMillan?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Pugh?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Snyder? Did you say pass? Thank you. And Tilly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Board, it is 11:53, and we are going to recess for lunch. We will return here for public comment in the afternoon session at 1 p.m. Have a good lunch. Thank you.
Now, you do have to log in with your class of 83. Cool. I was class of 76. Let's not get crazy.
It's okay. I was class of 43.